Hi, welcome back to my channel. You are a gift. I know it's been a while since my last video, and I wanted to tell you a little bit of what's been happening with my husband and I during that time. So back in March of 2021, I went out to California for my Nana's funeral. Had a lot of lower back pain, really painful. I thought it was food poisoning because some of the people at the funeral had food poisoning. And so I kind of dismissed it. And the next morning I woke up, I felt like I was gonna pass out, told my husband. We went to the urgent care and they knew that I needed more help than an urgent care. So we went to the ER and we're waiting in the waiting room, and I was about to pass out again. So my husband pushed that I could get in the back. We were able to get in the back and get me tested, and pretty quickly found out that I was pregnant, which I was shocked. I had no idea. And they ran more tests, realized that I was internally bleeding, and that very quickly I needed to get up to the surgery room. Probably about from the time I found out I was pregnant to the surgery was probably about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And I was very concerned because here I am pregnant, and I've waited since my early 20s to be pregnant, and I'm going to surgery. And found out, I was very concerned for the baby. I didn't know what was happening. Came out, found out that my one of my fallopian tubes had bursted, and that the baby didn't survive. And so I went from finding I was pregnant to not pregnant probably within several hours. I was in total state of shock, just trying to survive because it was a very, very painful. And so by that point, we went to my husband's parents for me to recover for about 2 weeks, and was just barely able to get well enough to come back home and to still recover. And through that whole time, I was just trying to process, what's going on, what just happened. And so I just wanted to ask, what was your experience?
Well, thank you for sharing. Sharon, thank you for having me on your channel. I feel honored and privileged, so thank you for that. Being originally from California and now living in Wisconsin, I was, it was a kind of a double-edged sword, grieving the loss of your grandmother, going to a funeral and that, but looking forward to visiting with family and friends. So, we were there for the funeral, so my mindset was furthest from what was about to take place. And remember, we had planned for 2 weeks, and usually that's unusual. Usually we planned for about 4 or 5 days and would come back. So going to the funeral, I knew that you were having some stomach issues and stomach pain, but I didn't know to what extent. Now the day after, when we went to go to urgent care, and then they said you had to go to the emergency room, then that's when the reality set in. Something's wrong here. I hope nothing serious is going on. And so when they took you in and took all your vitals and everything, and then ran tests and found out you were pregnant, I was shocked and overwhelmed, because there was no indication beforehand given, with your monthly cycle and such, that you would be presenting as pregnant. So that shocked me also. So to go from finding out that your fallopian tube burst to losing our twin, to having surgery within 1 hour, and having the risk of internal bleeding and you dying along with our child was quite the shock. I was overwhelmed. And so it went from a state of being glad to go to California, like, we need to pray, and we need to pray quickly. And so I was very overwhelmed, kind of confused. And kind of my military training and mindset came in the background. So stay calm, and let's just pray and get you Sharon through this. And so it was quite the ordeal, and the process, the losing of our child, was hard also. I have a loss of words for me. So yeah.
So when I came back to Wisconsin, I was really just resting a lot and recovering and trying to process what had just happened. Finding I was pregnant, losing the baby, and then having to go through surgery and all of that. that had been several weeks, and I wasn't getting any stronger or feeling better. I still didn't feel good, and it had been several weeks. I kept telling my husband, I was like, I don't feel good, I don't feel good. Something is wrong. And so my husband took me back to the ER out here, and they ran some tests, and they found out I was pregnant. And this was probably about a month later, and I was shocked because I thought, okay, we've already lost a child, now you're telling me I'm pregnant. And they said, yeah, it's a heterotopic pregnancy. So what did you find out about heterotopic pregnancy?
So I did research through Google on that and found out a heterotopic pregnancy is very rare. 1 out of 30,000 women it occurs and happens to, that basically one child is lost, but there's another child that is in there, and they're fraternal twins, but you're basically carrying one child that survived and the other child is lost. Very rare. So when I found out that you're pregnant again, boy, that was another shock to know that during the surgery in March that you were already conceived in conception. So we were just praying, oh my goodness, I just pray that our child that's still, in your womb wasn't affected by the anesthesia, by the pain, the trauma that you went through. Given that you found out you were pregnant again, that was quite another shock. A good surprise this time. The other was not a good surprise. This time it was a good surprise. So,
it was. This one was a real shock. I didn't see this one coming, and it was hard for me because after I lost our first child, I wasn't ready to try to have another child again. I needed to process and grieve and kind of, to the best of my ability, understand what happened the first time. And here I find out I'm pregnant and still trying to recover from the surgery also. So it was a lot going on. And so when we found out we were pregnant, I was also very concerned for our child, that our child had gone through the bursting of my fallopian tube and losing the child and surgery and anesthesia and all the things of that. And so we prayed a lot for our child. And
absolutely.
Through my pregnancy, I was very, very fatigued, vast majority of the time. And so when
the story ends on a good note that we had our child that survived in late fall. Her name was Charlotte, and she is such a blessing, and she's healthy, very healthy, and so our prayers were answered in that way. And one thing that we've learned through kind of seeing videos and watching different pastors in that is that if you've lost a child, you want to name your child, because your child is up in heaven, and either from what we understand, either the Father, God will give us a choice to raise a child, or the angels will raise the child. And so you want to name your child, whether it's a boy or girl. If you're not sure, you can name it both.
You can just send up both names.
Send up both names, but we know that our child is up in heaven, and I believe when Charlotte, when she comes of age, that we'll tell her the story of what happened, and I know that she'll remember her lost sibling in that. So.
Well, the beautiful thing for me to help me to get over the loss of the baby was that I knew the baby was up in heaven. All babies go up to heaven, and we threw up a girl name and a boy name for God to apply, whatever name to our child. And then the other thing that really brought me a lot of peace was that our child is perfectly being taken care of in heaven.
Yes.
And I thought that was just so powerful that I'm like, wow, my child, doesn't have to go through the pain here on earth, and is being perfectly raised, and my baby's okay, waiting for Kevin and I when we get to heaven. And that's a beautiful thing. And that helped me release that child.
So I think this story of, or what Sharon is sharing, really from your heart and from our lives and my heart too, Sharon, is that there's hope for women that have been through a miscarriage or have been through a loss of a child. And it not only affects women, but it affects men too. And how do men feel about it? You know, oftentimes men aren't told to share their feelings or keep them suppressed in that. But miscarriages can affect men just as quite as equally as women.
How did you get over the or how did you process?
Well, I processed it with me and God, and I know we did a little bit also. But knowing that our child is being perfectly taken care of in heaven gives me peace of mind that our child won't have to go through the challenges and hardship here in heaven. That we'll see them someday. I'll see them, you'll see them, and we'll have the opportunity to raise our child together. And that's what gives me hope and the ability to move forward with confidence and with hope that God has our child in hand and in mind. So.
And it definitely, I can speak for me, it pushes me that I'm going to do whatever it takes to make heaven because I want to see my child.
Amen.
And that's so important to me because I want to be able to raise my child.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have any questions or you'd like to reach out to us, what is your email again?
You are a gift. So it's the letter U, the letter R, the letter A, gift2021@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
And please tell us your stories if you've had a lost child or something of this nature. That way we can connect. This is not just us speaking on a camera, but we want to relate and connect with you relationally and emotionally. So send us your stories of what's happened to you. We'd love to connect with you via email. Thank you so much.
Bless you all.
Bless you.